This conference will now be recorded.
Uh, I guess hope you are able to see the screen, right? Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yeah, we are able to see.
Okay. Okay. If you got stuck or if you're losing me, you can stop at any time, and then we'll resume. Okay. So most of you guys are aware of what data warehousing is, right? Because I heard that Chang has already said that she is already aware of the data warehousing. How about Vikas and Venkat?
Yeah, yeah. Currently, I'm working in Informatica.
Okay.
Informatica with the data and big data
Okay.
support. Currently,
Okay.
working with BI.
Mm-hmm. Is
Now,
it Vikas or is it Vikas or Venkat?
data. Yeah, Venkat. This is Venkat. Actually,
Okay.
I'm here started a data warehousing.
Okay.
Traditional data warehousing, Cognos and Informatica. Overall, 10 plus years of experience in IT.
Okay. No, that's
Currently working with BI.
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. So so I gather that was before joining the course, you might have an idea of why we are migrating to Snowflake and what Snowflake is all about, right? You have done your research. I think you might have done your homework. So let me start with the course contents and then we'll take it from there. So the entire course will be about 22 sessions. It may go up to one or two sessions. I mean, beyond that. So the topics, hope you guys are able to see the screen, right? Is it visible though?
Yeah, able to.
Yeah. So, so we would be covering. So Venkat, I mean, like, can you please go on mute for a while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the topics that we would be covering is what are the prerequisites we need to have in order to learn Snowflake, and then we'll have an overview of Snowflake architecture. We will be having a session on what is cloud and what are the cloud technologies we have. And for the guys who are not aware of data warehousing, there would be a one session for the data warehousing concepts. And then we'll have an introduction to Snowflake where we can get our hands on the Snowflake environment. So understanding the cloud platforms which Snowflake uses, and we will be, I mean, most of our course would be on an exercise basis, like how do we load the data, how do we use the snow pipes, what are the partner connects we have, how are we handling the structured and the semi-structured data, and how do we schedule the jobs using Snowflake and securing the data. There are some concepts called cloning, data sharing, data sampling, and data masking. And we would be covering topics like time travel and failsafe. And we'll be learning more about the query caching, clustering, and the performance techniques. And even the advanced topics, which will include the best practices. Hope these contents are clear for you guys, right? Or do you have any questions on this part? Okay. Yeah.
Any SQL related, any covering for the topics like queries, complex queries, something?
Venkat, your audio is, I don't know whether there is something wrong with the mic, but it is too loud. I can hear you barely. I can hear the background noises.
Oh, okay, okay, got it. Now
Okay.
is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine now.
Okay. Any SQL related topics covered in this course? Just asking for.
The basic SQL, you must have an understanding of basic SQL, and most of the exercises that we do, may
Okay.
it be the data loading, may it be the how do you uh, create your databases, create your schemas, or how do you create your procedures, creating your integration objects. All those sort of queries would be covered in this course.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hmm. So so
Hello,
before
sir.
going,
Kiran
yeah,
here.
yeah, Kiran.
Yes, actually, I have experience in Oracle PLSQL,
Okay.
10 plus years of experience, and I'm aware of data warehousing. Okay,
Hmm.
so also, do we covering real-time project in this course?
We can have a sample project that we can take an example and learn from it, because the real-time projects, in the sense, as you are working and you have almost like 10 years of experience, right? So you
Yes.
could apply one of your project to the same scenarios what we cover in this one. So getting a
Mm-hmm.
real-time project and getting an hands-on, we may not cover in these 22 sessions,
Mm-hmm.
but the
Okay.
examples what we have would be a real-time examples.
Okay.
Are you with me,
Fine.
Kiran? Because I would give you the
Yes.
real-time
Yes. Fine.
scenarios and real-time examples, but if
Mm-hmm.
it's a if it's on a project level, then we need to have all the infra to be set in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that we may
Okay.
be able to provide that.
Okay. So can't we set up the infra on our own laptop?
Yes, you can do that. No, you can do that. You can have a cloud storage account. You can have your Snowflake account. You need to have, I mean, mostly for the migration projects, you need to have your source data instance somewhere on an on-prem server or even on the cloud, right?
Yes.
So that's the source setup, which is a difficult part for us. And creating a use cases from it,
Mm-hmm.
and that would consume a lot of time. Now that you guys have are already experienced, then you can relate it to your projects. Say
Mm-hmm.
your project is currently on Oracle, right? So if you're doing a
Yes.
migration, so what would you do? What would you do? So those are the kind of the things that you can attach from one point to another point, and you can connect all the dots.
Yes, but in order to switch our career in Snowflake, actually we will
Mhm.
require that means some real-time hands-on because in
No, the real
interview
time
they
we
will
can get.
definitely ask.
No, that's what I said. Most of the topics that we would cover, apart from the theory in these first three sessions,
Hmm.
first 3 or 4 sessions, apart from the theory, we would be working on the hands-on exercises only.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm? So it's not like an oral class that, I mean, that oral class that would be given and the course is complete. It's not like that. So you would have some real-time scenarios, hmm?
Okay.
But the data may not be from a real project. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
And the use cases, because from the organization to organizations, the use cases differ, right?
Yes, yes.
Mm. So it would be your duty uh, to come up with some use cases and ask me how to do it.
Hmm.
Then maybe we can try and work on that use case.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Mm.
And what are the prerequisites for this? Means what are the all softwares required for this? Uh, all are open source.
Yeah, the
Think
prerequisites is yeah.
no talk. No software is required for this course. I mean, Snowflake, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'll come to that point. There would
Um,
be, I don't say that will be no software that would be required, but this is a web-based. The Snowflake itself is the data warehouse as a service, right? Everything would be on the cloud.
Okay.
So there are no special softwares that needs to be installed on your local machine apart from some of the drivers that you would like to integrate it with any of uh, your existing tool or something like that. But all that we need is a CLI, the command line interface, which I'll show you in this demo session. What are the software that you would be needed and how do you set up your Snowflake account. So in a demo session, before going to any theory part, let me show you how our Snowflake environment would look like and how can you set up a Snowflake account for yourself. And then we'll start discussing on the what are the benefits of the Snowflake and the Snowflake architecture. Is that fine?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Srinivas,
So,
it's better to give some project and roles and responsibilities like that. What are the end-to-end, what are the responsibilities during the project? So at least we can go through and better to understand the requirements and what are the responsibilities. Better to go through further.
you're talking from the CV preparation perspective, right?
Yes.
No, that will have another session at the end when the CV preparation is another aspect on its own. So the roles and responsibilities, see, on this, all this, whether it could be 5 or 6 advanced topics, one may not work on only on the data loading, one may not work only on the integration, one may not work only on the stored procedures, right? So from the project to project it differs, but I'll give you a versatile sort of roles and responsibilities that you can use it in your CVs. Does it answer my
Yeah,
question, Venkat?
in different project, but that is fine. But at least go through the project end-to-end responsibilities or the at least, better to understand the project and uh, we can uh, go for ahead, right? I mean, it will be better to understand it. And next, we can change it to project based on our requirement and what are the product related something we can at least we can get into.
No, I didn't get your point, Venkat. What exactly that you're looking for? Just come
In
again.
the roles and responsibilities giving from your end, we
Mhm.
can't whatever you are giving the project and responsibilities we can't do it right, and we can't put it some other what are we are giving, responsibilities we can put it at least based on that requirement something like responsibilities hands-on experience like that.
No, the hands-on experience that's already is being given, right? Is already been given in this course. So if you're talking about what are the roles and responsibilities that you would give and train us on, I don't have an answer for it because we have like I mean you are from an ETL background, right? From Informatica. Hello.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So you might be having a different perception, and the other students might be having a different perspective. The perspective. So when it comes to the roles and responsibilities, it won't be generic. It depends from project to project what you would be doing. Within Snowflake, some people might be working on only on the Python scripts,
Mm,
and if I train you only on the Python scripts for the entire project, it may not suffice. I mean, you may not able to
mm,
successfully crack an interview. So what we need to have is we'll have an overall flow of, I mean, overall activities that we would be doing on a day-to-day basis within Snowflake. We'll be covering all the topics that are needed for an execution of a project or for a complete end-to-end implementation of a data warehouse. From
Okay.
those topics, you might be interested in certain area, right? Say you are very flexible with the transformations, right? The
Yes, correct.
transformations, yeah,
Uh,
you could use various
yeah.
tools.
But
Hmm?
but because Snowflake wise, we don't know how to put it out, how to go through it, right? The process
Yeah,
is
yeah,
different.
yeah. That is it.
It,
Yeah,
it,
yeah, Venkat, that is the
mm,
reason you have joined the course, right? That is the reason you have joined the course, right? So that knowledge would be given to you. I don't know if
okay,
I'm answering your question correctly.
okay,
Hmm. No, that knowledge will be given to you. It's not a theory sessions or a 1 day class or a 20-day class, and it has come to an end. So in this demo session, what I'm trying to say is these are the topics that we are going to cover, and most of the time we'll be having hands-on exercises. Okay.
Hi,
Yeah.
Shri. This is
Yeah.
Chan. One last question.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't know if it is too early for this question, but I would like to know. I have a source which is of relational. Okay, I have a source which is
Okay.
of relational.
Okay.
So I want to load it to Snowflake.
Okay.
Do I do I need an ETL tool in between, or
It
will
depends.
this
It depends how you want to. It depends how you want to use it. So if you can get the data to a staging area even without using an ETL, maybe you can use a Python script or a JavaScript and get the data onto a cloud platform as a Parquet files or as a flat files. Are you with me, Cheng? So
yeah.
yeah,
So
from that,
actually,
because it's not always you need an ETL tool. ETL tool merely what it does is it makes your life easier,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
it just makes your
because
life
what
easier.
yeah,
Hmm.
what I got to know, or whatever, what was result of my search was,
Hmm.
there's no other connectivity other than IICS to Snowflake. No other tool is able to connect to Snowflake other than the Python script, whatever you're saying, right? I'm talking about a
Hmm.
tool. Or you have to have an Metallion or whatever. So you have to have an expertise on the ETL tools that Snowflake is tied up with, right?
No, it's not always true. It's not always true.
Uh,
It just makes
uh,
your life easier. Even if you know talent or even if you have
mhm.
a hands-on on Informatica and in your organization, if you're currently using those tools, why not make a use of those tools?
Because you see, the Informatica, the native Informatica is not having a connectivity to the Snowflake as of now, right?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't see it. Yeah, it should
Yeah.
be like IACS or Integrated
I
Cloud Service. Yes,
yes.
that has an connectivity, right? As an
Yeah.
ETL. I'm just trying to understand, do you require an ETL tool, or is your Snowflake can directly connect to a relational server and get a file and it can load? I'm just trying to understand.
No, no,
Does it
the Snowflake itself cannot pull the data on from your on-prem servers or
Okay.
on from your relational databases. What you can do is either use a script and get at least the data onto a staging area.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
got
yeah,
it.
yeah, within Snowflake, it's most of us would do is a sort of ELTs
Okay. Yeah.
instead of an ETL, right?
Yeah.
So we just get the data onto staging area, and then we can have however we want to play with it, we can play with it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. It answers my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you, Shri. Yep.
no problem. Yeah.
Mhm.
So any other questions? If there are no other questions, then I'll quickly show you how to set up your Snowflake account today, and then we'll come with the benefits of the Snowflake. So hope you could see my browser, right? Hello?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Setting up a Snowflake account is pretty straightforward and is real easy. You don't need to have any expertise to do that. All that you would need to do is you need to set up it's just like creating an account. So the moment you sign up, it would ask you for what is the edition that you would like to use. In either of these editions, you have a 30-day free trial, which includes about $400 worth of free usage. We'll get to this point. What is this $400 worth of free usage? So there will be a standard edition, there will be a enterprise, and there will be a business critical edition. So we could use any one of these, but I would recommend to use either an enterprise edition or a standard edition, because you won't be exhausting all your credits very soon. And if you're losing all your credits and the account is gone for your exercises purpose, you can recreate another account, which is which would be as simple as this only. So don't worry about the credits that we would lose, or don't worry about that 30 free trial. I mean, like 30-day free trial. You can always recreate this account I mean, as long as you want to practice on the Snowflake. So basically, the Snowflake runs on these three major clouds, which is it runs on Azure, it runs on AWS, and it runs on uh, GCP. So even though Snowflake is a data warehouse as a service, it doesn't have its own cloud per se. So it uses one of these. It uses one of these services, the cloud services, in order to store, compute, uh, and process the data. So let us create with an AWS. So when you say AWS, you could select which is the nearest the data center for you. So for India, there is nothing like the nearest we could see Singapore. By default, it would come and say get started. Okay, then you would go back to your emails. Okay. So all that you have to do is click to activate. You give your username. Okay. So directly when you register for the first time, it would jump onto the learn page where you could get all the Snowflake documents. We will know about um, all these options. You could explore it when you start. So there are like two different consoles. This is a normal console by default, which would it get, but 90% of the time we would be working on the classic console. So let us go on to the classic console. Okay. So this is how what a Snowflake environment will look like. So if you look at this address bar, this is the account that has been set up for you on the AWS cloud. So whenever you refer to an account, you wouldn't see this account name elsewhere but here. So right from here to here will be your account name. This portion will be your account name. Account name. Okay. I'll tell you how and where we will be using it. And this is your account name, and this is snowflakecomputing.com. So it varies from one person to another person or from one account to another account. So that would be unique throughout. I mean, so this account cannot be given to somebody else. So this is a unique. You can call it as your account ID or account name. You name it. So by default is like any other workbenches or any other uh, IDE tools. We have something like a repository, which is nothing but in this area we would be having all the databases listed. So by default, Snowflake is providing us some sample data to play around with, some call center data, where you have your table, where you have your databases already created. Your tables are already created. There is some data which is existing in these databases. So you could create, so these are the tabs. So when you get here, you could create your database using any of these options. We'll go into each and every option in our coming classes in very detailedly about each and every option here. So you could name the database. I want to create a database ABC. You want to create a comment to test DB. And if you click on SQL, it would automatically generate an SQL that which runs at the backend. So either you could go and create the database with this SQL command, or you could use the web console to create it. Any questions on this part? Okay, take that as you know. And this is where we have the shares in the sense it's a data sharing concept which we have in a Snowflake, where we could share our data very securely within the other accounts. That means if you have a database and you want to expose it to another external application, or put it like to an external user, so we will be able to share it with another account, the same data, but at a metadata level. So they won't be having access to directly to the tables, but they will have only the read-only access. So they won't be able to modify, or they won't be able to delete or anything. All that they can use is they can read the data. So that topic would be covered in our data sharing concepts. The marketplace that we can discuss at a later point of time. So I'll just tell you what are the frequently used components here. So we have warehouses. So this is the place where we can create and manage our warehouses. Creating and managing our warehouses, I'll I'll just give you an example when we when I start giving you uh, the the basic architecture of Snowflake. So this is where we define our warehouse, or where we configure our warehouse. So these are the options, even that we would be going in detail. And this is the worksheets. So this is where we create our queries, or we execute our queries and view the data, or even if you want to write some procedures, and this is the place where we do that. And we have a tab called history, where we'll be having the entire history of the queries that have been executed on the Snowflake. And this is the account information. It would give you what is the usage on your account and what are the credits used for each day. I'll tell you what are these credits and how are they being used. In the next tab, we are coming to onto a partner connect. So these are the different applications that are partnered with Snowflake. We could use it for our uh, integrations. In other words, we have a help button here where we'll have option to access the Snowflake documentation. You don't have to go to any other places to know something. I could see that the Snowflake documentation is really helpful, and that is the only place we can mm, find answers to most of our questions. And there is a community which we can which we can start posting our issues or discussing with, or even if you want to mentor someone, or even if you want to answer some of the questions that the people would be asking. So this is the place where you can visit the community. Download. So download, this is an area that we must have a look at. This is the CLI client. We have a web interface, right? So the area where we are working is called the web console, and CLI is a command line interface console where you can download it and you can use the command line to perform the operations that you normally do it on the web GUI. So if you want to have a JDBC driver or a ODBC driver, the Python components, what you want to install, you can use it here. Okay. These are the notifications that you would get, all the alerts, or whenever your credits are going to expire, and what are the kind of usage that has been done. So this is the place where we have by default, you can change your password here. Switching roles, these are the user roles that would be defined by the Snowflake by default. You can have other roles also that can be created from the admin console, the preferences and the logout. So as I told you, right, so this is the place where the queries would be written, and this is the place where the data would be retrieved. So let us look at one example. We have a customer table, right? The naming convention in Snowflake, it's always a fully qualified naming convention. Like if you want to read a table called customer, you got to give its fully qualified name. That means it has to followed by in which database it exists and in which schema does the table exist and what's the table name. If you don't want to use that fully qualified names, what you have to do is you have to select your database and you have to select your schema. You have to select your schema. Then you'll be able to read the table without the fully qualified naming convention. Say for example, let us take account this table. See, it has written the value even though we haven't given a fully qualified name because we have selected the schema here. Say for instance, you haven't selected the database itself is different. Let us see what would happen. See, the object does not exist or authorized. But when you start giving your fully qualified names, it would execute and give you the result. So this is the place where you will have your result. So let me give you another example just to understand. So this layout, right? Mm. Sorry, I had to take some call. So you can see the place here, right? You have all the columns displayed. You could filter out the columns based on your requirement and based on your need. Here itself, this is merely for viewing purpose. It does not change or it does not apply any changes to the actual table. So if you want to filter out something, like if you want to see 25550006, so irrespective of the column name, you can start filtering with the keywords. So this is the real results pane and this is the data preview we have. So this is the typical layout of our Snowflake where we would be working on. Any clarity needed in setting up a Snowflake account? You guys will be able to do it, right? Hello, am I on mute?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So are we clear with the setting up of the Snowflake account?
Yes, I'm clear.
Okay. 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 So now let us come to the main topic. The main topic is as our why Snowflake as our data warehouse. What are the drawbacks that we have in our traditional or the on-prem warehouses? The on-prem warehouses are like where we need an initial server setup that comes at a huge cost. And on the Snowflake, is a very simplified setup and it would minimize the capital cost. How would it minimize the capital cost? Because this data warehouse is already been created on the on the cloud, and it is reused for each and every other account. So there is all that we need is another instance of a Snowflake account. That's it. When it comes to an on-prem warehouse, you need to set up, you need to buy the all the infrastructure, and you need to set up your databases. You need to do the updates. You need to have a data center. All that activity is needed. But why did this Snowflake emerge? That's a question I wanted to ask. So what's wrong in having an on-prem warehouse? Let us get an
No.
example. Yeah. So let us have a simple classification. So apart from this COVID period, all of us were traveling to our offices, right? And most of us have cars. So if your need is only to travel to office, if your need is only to travel to office and come back to home, why would you need to buy a car? That means you would be using the car almost like within the 24 hours. Within the 24 hours, you would be using it only for 1 or 2 hours for your transit period. In order to fulfill the need of that 1 or 2 hours transit period, you are investing on something which is sitting idle for almost 22 hours in a day. Am I right or wrong in saying so? Hello. So similarly, your on-prem warehouses or the traditional data warehouses, we would be buying it and we won't be using it to that extent to its maximum capacity. So that is the reason Snowflake has emerged, and then they said like you could use Snowflake and only pay as you go. So you can start comparing it to an Uber service for your for your for your transit period, right? So all that you do is your need is to go to office, right? What you have done, you have booked a cab and you have gone to the office, and your need is fulfilled, right? Is there any liability on you on that one? No, right? Somebody is taking care of that maintenance. Hello, on the maintenance, and uh, so somebody is taking care of your maintenance and your driving, uh, and even for your fuel costs and everything, right? So you could relate in that context. So, and if you have an on-prem warehouse, it has got a limited storage. It has got a limited storage, and the scaling is very high as the data grows. Again, you can relate it to a same example. Tomorrow your need has changed, and maybe 5 or 6 of you want to travel to office. Are you going to sell your car and buy a new car which will accommodate more number of people in the vehicle? And that's a one-time need, right? So in those instances, the scaling up and the scaling down is being done, is a feature that was given by Snowflake. So whenever there is a huge demand of storage, or whenever there is a huge demand of computing, you can scale up and you can scale down the services within Snowflake. And the cloning of the data. So cloning of the data needs, like, if you want to set up well, let us not use the word cloning. If you want to set up a DR, you know what DRs are, right? The disaster recoveries that most of the on-prem servers would have. In order to do that, you would need a huge resource that needs to be involved in order to create your backups on a day-to-day basis. Whereas in Snowflake, we have to don't worry about those. We don't have to worry about those activities. Everything would be taken care by Snowflake. Any questions on these differences between the traditional warehouse and the Snowflake? Okay, I'll take that as a no, and then let us get into how the Snowflake architecture works. You're able to see the screen, right? So the Snowflake architecture is basically done on three different layers. One is the storage layer, one is the computing layer, and other one is the cloud services. So in this one, we have a flexibility of scaling up and scaling down on each individual level. That means if you want to increase the storage, you can increase the storage. If you want to decrease the computing resources, you could decrease your computing resources, or you could increase your computing resources. So similarly with the authentication or the cloud services. This authentication, access control, and the cloud services, this basically involves in your user creation and the security and query optimization and how to handle the infrastructure. So this entire activity will be done on the cloud services. And the compute resources will be responsible to process the data and give you the result. And the storage resources is responsible to store the data. Whenever a compute engine would ask for data, it's responsible to give the data, and that data will be supplied to our cloud services. Any question on this three-layered architecture? Okay. So I said there will be a scale up and scale down on these virtual warehouses, right? So we'll go in detail in the next session. In the next session about how do we how do we relate this within our Snowflake? Where is it? So what are the types of computing resources we have, and how do we configure these warehouses? So you don't it's better you don't mix up this virtual warehouse with our data warehouses. This virtual warehouse is nothing but a computing machine apart from our warehouse. This entire thing you call it as a warehouse, I don't mind that, but the virtual warehouse is not a data warehouse. The virtual warehouse is nothing but an individual cluster where the data would be processed. Any questions so far? Okay, if there are no questions, then uh, I hope you guys have liked the demo, and if there are any questions, you can reach out to uh, Harmeet.
I think I have one question. You covering
Yeah,
how many for this class? Total sessions like 18.
Venkat, I don't know
I,
if it is Venkat.
uh,
I
uh,
don't know whether it is my audio or your audio. Uh,
really,
I couldn't hear you properly, Venkat.
just one second. My end is okay. Uh,
Maybe I've
just,
put my headphones on too loud. Yeah. Yeah, tell me
yeah,
now, Venkat.
yeah. I have a quick small question. Like, how many hours to complete this course?
Is if you would ask me in number of hours, I would give you like plus minus 25 hours, Venkat.
Okay.
It depends
So,
because so most of you in this
actually,
batch are coming from the
yeah.
data warehouse background, right? So that initial sessions of the basic SQL and the SCD concepts,
Mm,
I'll eliminate that from here.
okay. Yeah, actually, I heard some others like 30 to 45 sessions, like 30 to 45 hours. But those are all included in this classes. So I don't know, but you covering is fine for me. Just for asking.
No, Venkat, just come
Maybe
again. 30 to 35 hours.
30 to 45 hours they will be covering. Like maybe don't know other topics will be covering or not. I don't know. But in this, you saying like 25 hours, right?
Yeah, the
Almost.
25 hours is the basic, like, so the basic lecture would be for 25 hours. The interaction sessions might go a bit longer also.
Hmm.
Hmm?
Each
When it comes to,
session like
see if it is a one-way traffic, if it's a one-way traffic, hmm,
each
then it's fine. It
session.
would be completed in 2 hours. Until and unless you guys come up with a question, or if it's an interactive session, it won't prolong, it won't extend it. Do you hear what I'm saying? So if there are any questions and if any clarifications are needed, then that would obviously go beyond that 30-35 hours of session. But 90% of the topics, not even 90, I can assure you that it's more than almost like, I wouldn't say like 100%, but um, 90 to 95% of the topics will be covered in this course. Only some of the examples which where we don't have and supporting infra. So those are the things. I mean, like, those are the. It's not about the topics. Those are the exercises that we may not do. The topics would be covering everything.
So how about the fees and all?
The fees that you can discuss with, I mean, like Harmeet.
Okay.
Okay, and
Mm.
and I would like to tell you about the timings. So, is morning 6 a.m. IST? Would that suit you if you guys are joining?
Is there any weekend sessions, Simon?
Sorry.
Mm. Only weekdays or weekend also available for this course?
No, I prefer it to be on a weekday. I prefer it to be on a weekday, but we can have a working sessions on demand. If sometimes, because I mean most of us are working, right? Sometimes I stay very late for our production issues, and then sometimes one class we might miss during the week. Say, I'm just giving you an instance. So what we can do is we can catch up in the over the weekend sessions, but having only the weekend sessions may not help us. So if you guys
And
want to
that too,
have it only on the weekend sessions, we can do 3 hours a week. I mean, 6 hours every weekend, and we could finish it up in a 1.5 month.
okay. And one thing, if it is weekdays, it only morning time, right? Not in
Ye-
evening.
No, not in the evening. I'll be occupied. I'll be occupied with my regular office work. So I won't be able to help in the evening times. That is for sure.
Hmm, got it. Okay. Thank you, Srini.
Yeah, thanks, Venkat. And Kiran, you had some question?
Morning at what time?
Morning, I would prefer it to be at 6 o'clock, if that's okay with everyone.
8 o'clock, right?
Any concerns there, Kiran?
Concern is regarding real-time project only.
Hmm?
Is for real-time project only. I have concern. Means if we
The
can cover
real-time
the
project in
real-time
the
project,
sense.
yes.
See, that's what I'm saying. All the
Means
exercises that we would do, all the exercises that we would do are of the realistic examples. When you say a real-time project, uh, I can't set up a company's infra and I can't give you all the use cases, right?
no,
When you when
one small end-to-end project means if you
once more,
cover all
yeah,
scenarios
that
like
POC
this.
we can do. That POC we can do. We can
Yes.
take one data source. We can take one data source, and we could play around with like 5 or 10 tables. Because if you want a project as in its whole, the implementation of the project sometimes would take 1 year within the organizations, right? So we
No,
won't
no,
be
not
having
like that.
those many use cases. Yeah.
For only our hands-on purpose and for
No, the hands-on purpose you'll
this
have,
end-to-end
Kiran. Yeah.
knowledge means from start to
Mm.
end.
Yes. Yeah, that would be given.
Yes. Because projects might last 10 years also. So I'm not saying like that.
Mm. Mm.
Yes.
No, no, that hands-on you will have. So that's the reason I started with how to set up your Snowflake account, so that you guys could explore it and come up with questions in the upcoming classes.
Yes.
Chang, any questions? If you're speaking, there could be something wrong with your mic. I can't hear anything from anyone. So Harmit,
Yeah, yes, I'm there.
yeah, okay. I don't know if Chang is trying to speak something, but I
Chang, you
could
are
see her.
audible?
No, we can't hear her.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe she can drop a text here if she wants to speak. Otherwise, we can wrap the call for today, and we can take it from tomorrow if somebody is joining.
Kiran, you have any question? Kiran, Anjana?
No, sir. No, sir.
No.
Okay, you can have a one-on-one with Chang, Harmit.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Hope you guys like the sessions, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Srinivas.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye bye.